How's it going, y'all? Titan Smash MTG here, and today we're back with some more Zendikar Rising deck tech action. This time we'll be looking at a deck that I'm really excited for the upcoming Early Access event. If you haven't heard already, Early Access event coming up on Wednesday, September 16th at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to see some Zendikar Rising decks in action live, you can come over to twitch.tv/TitansmashMTG, and I will be playing those live. If anybody who hasn't seen my deck tech video for the 10 decks of Zendikar Rising Standard, feel free to go check that out. I'll be playing some of those lists here. But today, we'll be talking about one list in particular, and it's one that after just doing a little bit of even just gold fishing, I'm really realizing just how explosive and terrifying this deck is. But that's Gruul Landfall. So even though there's other decks I'm excited to play for this new upcoming event here, Gruul Landfall really has the tools to be a premier player in this upcoming standard, I think, and be one of the more scarier aggro decks. Now, obviously, gold fishing can't really tell you too much. It shows you what the optimal draws can look like. But I was really surprised when doing this, the amount of just overall turn 4 kills this thing can generate in multitudes of ways. You know, a lot of decks, they'll have those nut draws where if you draw exactly this, and this, maybe you can get that turn 4 kill in the standard kind of thing. But when doing this in this deck, there were games where I was playing a Temple of Abandon on turn 1 doing nothing. And still, turn 2, turn 3 do my thing, and turn 4 kill someone. So the potential here is really scary, so I'm really excited to see how it translates to actual games. But I figured let's take a look at the deck. I've made a few changes since the last video. I had to take out some of the pet cards that seemed like they'd be pretty fun. Because in the end, this is a very aggressive, very just, low to the ground, get you dead kind of deck. Let's take a look at it and see what we got, though. So first, we'll just start off with our landfall creatures in particular. We're playing a full play set of Akoum Hellhound. This is red mana for 0/1 with landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield, it gets +2/+2 to end of turn. So even though it's an 0/1 on its face, which is boring, you're never going to be blocking this in the first place anyways. But anytime you attack, it's attacking as a 2/3, which is fantastic for a 1-drop. Brushfire Elemental, red and a green for 1/1 with haste. Brushfire Elemental can be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Again, landfall when land enters the battlefield, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Now, even though this is a 1/1 with haste for 2 mana, usually that would line up bad against a lot of the format if you don't have that land to play to make it a 3/3. But even on turn 2, you play this as a 1/1 with haste, and it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. So even on turn 2, most anything you play then, it's not going to be able to get blocked anyways. So Hellhound on turn 1, this on turn 2, you're still swinging for 3 there, which is pretty respectable. But the big thing you'll be playing on turn 2, even more so than Brushfire Elemental a lot of times, is Lotus Cobra. Now, Lotus Cobra in an aggressive deck may not seem like a whole lot. I know people think of this as more of a ramp card, and it is. It does a lot of good ramp things for you. But Lotus Cobra can make some of this deck just explode and do some really crazy things here. If anybody's never played against it before, if you have removal, kill the Lotus Cobra. The Lotus Cobra can really just take over a game and do some nutty stuff here. So it's never going to be attacking for the big damage like a lot of these other creatures are, but it's going to be the enabler here early on to really make your deck do its thing. Lastly, on the landfall creatures here, we have the whole playset of Kazandu Mammoth. This is 1 double green for a 3/3 with landfall. It gets +2/+2 with landfall. So a 3 mana 3/3 is already okay on his face, but it's just so nice to know that every time you play a land afterwards, it's attacking as a 5/5. And there's a lot of ways to be playing these multiple lands in our deck. So this could be attacking as a 7/7 or possibly even a 9/9. Just a lot of scary stuff this thing can do. And if you need that land on the backside, such a versatile card here. So we're allowed to cheat on our mana a little bit, play a little bit less lands so we can have more action. But then if we need this bulky mammoth here that can pump up and be dangerous, we get that as well. So now looking at the non-landfall creatures here, we're playing a 3 of Radha, Heart of the Keld. 1 red-green. This is already in standard before, but it's a 3/3. But the beauty of this one is it allows you to play lands off the top of your deck. A lot of times playing Gruul, especially if we're kind of getting really risky on our lands here and playing less of them, we have a better chance of possibly missing those land drops. But Radha gives you that extra look to play those off the top, and then you can still keep your gas on hand if you have that. Radha's top ability also for playing landfall, or if we're having things like Lotus Cobra, give us that additional ramp. We get to Radha's bottom ability a little bit quicker, where Radha gets +X/+X to the end of turn, where X is the number of lands you control. So it's a great target for Embercleave if you can do that, or just a big bulky threats attacking as a first strike attacker anyway is really nice. We're playing a full playset here of Migratory Greathorn, and in my gold fishing, this is one of the cards that's really surprised me. Nothing feels better on turn 3 than to play your land drop, get a landfall trigger for your creatures already on the battlefield, put this Greathorn over something like an Akoum Hellhound, and then put another land on the battlefield. Let's say you're just doing that, for instance. Let's say you just have the Hellhound, you do nothing on turn 2, and then turn 3 you play the Greathorn. That's 2 landfall triggers, plus the 3/4 goes on top of that 0/1 body. So you're getting the 3 power off the base, plus 2 landfall triggers. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Turn 3, you're casually swinging for 7 damage with 1 creature. Just a really good card for these decks, though. Migratory Greathorn, kind of a powerhouse in this kind of deck, I think. It helps your strategy, it bulks up your creature, it does everything you want it to do. Still playing 3 of Questing Beast here because it turns out Questing Beast is still a good card. We don't have to have everything be landfall-centric. Sometimes you just need to get in there with one of the best creatures in Standard, so why not do it with Questing Beast? So moving on over to the equipment now, we're playing a whole playset of Skyclave Pick-Axe. Now this is one that I has a 2 of in my initial video, but after doing a little bit of goldfishing again and just testing, this is a 4 of. You have so many starts. If you want to get really wombo combo with this, if you turn 1, Akoum Hellhound, turn 2, Brushfire Elemental, turn 3, just like double Pickaxe something, every land drop means your creatures are getting an additional 4 power and toughness for every land drop. And we have things like Fabled Passage, you can do double, or play in stuff like Roiling Regrowth, which we'll talk about later. This gets really out of control. So Skyclave Pick-Axe, an absolute monster of a card for these kind of lists. Really one that I think we have to be playing a 4 of. We're a low to the ground aggressive deck. Yes, if they have the removal, that definitely hurts. But this is the kind of deck where you're forcing them to have it really quick or they're just going to die. And that's what you want to do with this deck, is put that pressure on them, keep your throat on the gas pedal. The other equipment we're playing here, you may have heard of it. This is called Embercleave. Apparently it's a good card for double red. You know how this works. It turns out +1/+1 double strike and trample was really good. And again, with these Hellhound creatures or any of these landfall creatures here, every time the lands come in the battlefield, if they don't remove this, pumping this up as a +2/+2 with double strike just gets so crazy. So Embercleave, fantastic addition to this deck. A lot of times your little mopey creatures are attacking for 5 or 7 damage. So it turns out giving a +1/+1 in addition to that with double strike and trample, pretty good. So we'll finish this off looking at the instants and sorceries in the deck. As I mentioned earlier, we're playing a 2 of Roiling Regrowth. And as odd as this card may look in this deck, I think 2 may not be enough for it. This card is one of the other enablers that makes this deck do what it does. And the fact that this is an instant is game changing. If this was a sorcery, it was probably unplayable for this. It's a little bit too slow. But as an instant, think of this as a crazy combat trick that just happens to ramp you. Let's say you go into attacks, you turn 1 Hellhound, turn 2 Brushfire Elemental, turn 3 you play your land, so you got your landfall triggers there. So you're swinging for 2 with the Hellhound and 3 with the Brushfire. So swinging for 5 already, which is decent. They go no blocks. You Roiling Regrowth, stack that land, put you 2 more on the battlefield. That's 2 more landfall triggers. So that's 3 landfall triggers for the turn. So you're swinging for 6 with your Hellhound and 7 with your Brushfire Elemental. And all of a sudden that 5 damage is turned into 13 if my landfall math is right. So it's nutty. And then with that, you've already ramped up. So you're one mana closer to Embercleave in the next turn. You're 1 mana closer to Questing Beast plus something else. Like there's so many things you can do with this deck that makes it really versatile. So Roiling Regrowth, as I said, 2 of for now. It may need to be a 4 of. It's a fantastic card in this list. Finally closed it up. There's instants and sorceries here. We have 2 Shatterskull Smashing and 2 Turntimber Symbiosis. These are the ones where if we need a land, we can play the land on the backside. So again, we're allowed to cheat on our mana just a little bit here. But if we need to use them, Shatterskull Smashing, nice little removal spell for us. We can get these final points of damage in. Because one weakness this deck does have is lack of trample damage. Unless we have the Embercleave there, we don't have any trample. So it doesn't really mean much if these aggressive creatures can't get in an attack if we're getting chunk blocked all the time. Lastly, Turntimber Symbiosis. You got that land on the backside with this one as well. A lot of times if we end up using this, we're probably trying to hit a Radha to put a bunch of counters on it, or a Kazandu Mammoth, because it's already a big creature and then it gets those landfall triggers. But even if we just hit a Questing Beast or something like that, that's a casual, just lethal off the top kind of thing with haste. As far as land goes, we're playing 21 here, and I know 21 seems pretty low for a deck that is a landfall heavy deck that wants to hit its land drops. But again, we're playing the 4 of Mammoth here. We're playing 4 different other ones between the Shatterskull Smashing and the Turntimber Symbiosis. So we had a lot of more access to lands than it may look like, but we're only playing 21 basics, and even that may be too much. Now, one thing that kind of sucks here with this is even though we're a 2-color mana base, we still have to play a 4 of Temple of Abandon. I know it feels really bad playing tap lands in your aggro decks here, but we're kind of forced into it. You just don't want to risk it that much playing that many basics. But even then, it's okay sometimes because things like Lotus Cobra, you're still getting that mana off of it right off the bat because of the landfall trigger. You're still getting your landfall triggers for your creatures anyway, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Fabled Passage, MVP here. A lot of times you do want to be playing this before turn 4, but even on turn 3, those double landfall triggers do matter, and they do stack up really nicely. Finally, the new additions here, Cragcrown Pathway. The Pathway lands here, doing their double duty here, of doing whatever they need them to do. as far as being a red source or green source. Really nice to have that versatility here. But as a whole, very excited for Gruul Landfall. Really looking forward to playing this one. Again, goldfishing doesn't really mean a damn thing in Magic when you don't have to face any interaction. But just from a nuts perspective and a potential perspective of how fast this deck can kill you, watch out, because if you submit in your first few turns doing nothing, trying to make a really slow game plan work, it's not going to happen because this deck will just kill you. So Gruul Landfall coming to a stream near you. Again, twitch.tv/TitansmashMTG, September 16th, which is this upcoming Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is when this event's supposed to start. We'll for sure be playing this one, and then I'll have video from it up on the YouTube afterwards. Thank you all for watching. Thank you so much for your support. The amount of support I got from my 10 decks of Zendikar Rising decks video was fantastic and really just means a lot to me. Made my day, y'all. Thank you all for watching. Looking forward to some Gruul smashing. Let's go!